Lorraine Whitehead, that's my name. Lorraine Whitehead Nijnika's Business Development Officer. I am the Business Development Officer for NADF. Ego nanukian NADF wa jihagoko oyaga mushknebi homogeneous gawinanda damage o achunyan geguna jimaj dawaj kashitishke. So my job at NADF is to assist applicants complete their application who want either a grant or a loan with NADF. But we, some of us, the staff at NADF, were trained to deliver financial literacy workshops. So, which is why we're having this financial literacy training webinar. So again, my topic today is savings. I did the budgeting workshop 2 weeks ago. And before I start my presentation, I normally like to touch base on the NADF eligibility criteria. Again, we look for equity. So you have to invest 10 to 15% of whatever the total asking amount is. The market, is there a market for the type of business that you want to get into? Are you sure you're going to have, some people have that if I build it, they will come kind of attitude, but sometimes that's not always the case. You have to ensure that your business will be viable, profitable. Are you going to have customers? Are you sure you're going to have interested people in the business that you're starting? Again, we look at your credit check. I know people have history with credit and not so good history, just because we weren't aware of it. I say we because I was one of those people. So if you're more aware of your credit, you'll have a better idea of what your credit rating is, the history, and you have to demonstrate you have to have that ability to pay the loan back. And again, your education and experience. Are you sure, or not are you sure, but do you have the education and experience to execute this project that you want to do? Do you have the experience to start this business that you want to do? Like if you want to start a Chinese restaurant, can you cook? Can you cook? So yeah, that's one of the 4 areas that we look at when NADF receives the application. So if you provide me with a brief summary of all those 4 areas, that would make my job a whole lot simpler. I'm going back to financial literacy. So what I'll be discussing today is why save? And again, needs versus wants, paying yourself first, compound interest, saving and investing tools, as well as touching a little bit on goal setting. Okay, why save? If I were in person, I would ask each individual, do you save your money on a regular basis? What is your process putting savings away? What is your process? Why is it important to save? So for me, do I save my money on a regular basis? Yes, I do. With my bank, I have that ability to automatically pull out my whatever amount that I had set aside to my accounts. So that's my process. You can either do it manually into your savings account or your investment account, which I'll touch on in the later slide. And why is it important for me to save? Life has emergencies, or maybe you want to retire, so you want to save, or maybe you want to start a business. Yes, you're going to save. personally, like I said, I'm a traveler, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I say also I would like to have a little bit of a cushion when I retire. If I had known about this like earlier, like again, I'm going to say, okay, I started with NADF 10 years ago. I didn't know nothing about financial literacy. And if I had known about all this earlier in the year, then I would have probably done it. But again, it's not too late. So, yeah. Needs versus wants. So if I were presenting again in live in person, I would ask each individual, okay, do you know what needs versus wants is? And then we'd write up all the needs versus wants. Okay, what do you need? What do you want? And I've posted and we'll post it up on probably a wall just to see. Okay, so need is something, what do you need to live? Again, it could be your rent, utilities, cell phone, food, car insurance, car payments. That's a need. What do you need to live? Then there's wants, home decor, Starbucks, my expensive purse. But it's okay to want all those items in the want section as long as there's a balance. A need is survival. Want is more of a confidence booster, something that makes you feel good. It's balancing. So I grabbed this from a website, and these are what could be considered as a need, and all these wants. So the next slide is about paying yourself first. So with me, you're gonna paying yourself first is, to me, is like setting not short term, but yes, short term savings goals. So since I had mentioned in my previous presentation that I love to travel. Again, my goal before this pandemic happened was to hit every continent of this world to run a marathon. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap. I have to really look at my financial situation. I have to budget. I have to research. I have to do all that. So right now, it's estimated within probably 2 years, it's going to be safe to travel. That's just my guess. I want just 4,000 within 24 months. So if I have 4,000 divided by 24, it leaves me with $167 a month that I need to save to reach my target goal of 4,000. Christmas is like 6 months away. I still need to save money for Christmas, just so I don't want to be stressed out after the holidays with credit card debt. So now I'm going to start saving for Christmas. I have a big family. I don't know what your budget is with Christmas shopping. Some people like to buy really extravagant, expensive Christmas presents, but I don't. I'm okay with sending Christmas cards, socks. As long as it's the thought that counts. I have a big family, so I try, and it's stressful trying to get everybody gifts. But again, if you get a Christmas card for me, that's okay. A Christmas card with socks, maybe with a little gift card, Tim Hortons gift card, movie gift card. So my budget estimating would be 1,500. I need my 1,500 in 6 months, so which leaves me to have $250 a month that I need to save. So in total, my pay yourself first goal, set short-term setting savings goals, as I need to find $416.67 a month to meet my targeted short-term goals. So how do I find that $416 a month? And it goes back to finding money. How do I find it? So I'm gonna probably likely go back to all my bank transactions because like with this pandemic, I'm kind of scared to carry to use cash. So it's going to be easy for me to track what I've been spending. So I'm going to go log into my bank account. It's going to tell me what I've been spending my money on. Items, how often do I buy this? Again, I had mentioned again in my budgeting workshop, I've noticed that I spend a lot of money on it's gonna be Tim Hortons takeout, McDonald's takeout, all these fast food places. So I probably, if I add it up, I'm probably spending about 500-ish on takeout, tea, coffee, fries. That's comforting for me to have these three. But if I start if I pull myself back and say, okay, Lorraine, that's enough. We have Christmas. You have a marathon trip that you want to plan. You got to stop going to these places. And how often do I buy them? If it was crazy that when I realized how often I went, I'm like, okay, I'm spending close to $500 each month on these places that I shouldn't even be going. So I was able to determine then how items that I buy, how often that I was buying it, and I was determining how much I was spending on this. So I'm finding my money that should be going towards something else. I'm just giving examples of it could be doing. And I'm originally from Webequay, so there's these individuals. What can you do with all the money that you're going to be saving? You okay? There's the little jars like no money, and if you invest in saving, it's gonna start to grow. So it's like planting your money. I would like to mention the fact that I'm not an expert at the savings topic. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm only sharing what I know and what based on what I was taught. So if you need an expert in I would recommend you seek a financial advisor. But I'm just sharing the information that I'm presenting on a personal level, as well as sharing the information that I know of. I'm not an expert, and NADF is not an expert in financial advisor. I would recommend you seeking a professional if you're really. But I would again, I'll share what I know. So, an example. Okay, look at this. So if you save $7 a week at 3% interest rate in 10 years, you're going to have this amount. This is assuming that it's going to be compounded annually. Again, banks have different interest rates. 3% is probably the average. Then if I double it, I'm obviously going to have more. If I'm investing more weekly, the higher amount that I'll have. If you okay, just a calculation here. If I'm paying $100 as 6%, this would be the calculation. Year one would be 106, then so on, going on to 5 years. It all depends on. There's some calculators that you can use to kind of determine. Okay, it'll give you an idea of how much money you're going to be investing compounded at this interest rate and for what's your timeline. Maybe in 20 years, it could be 10, 20, 30, 50 years. there's calculators that you can find online to determine what your starting amount is and what your end date will be at whatever interest rate you decide. Again, you can talk to your bank, see what the interest rate will be on the savings account that you'll have. Again, it's probably 3, maybe it's lower now. It could be higher. It depends. Every bank is different. So this is just an example of $100 compounded at 6% compounded annually. Interest compounded annually. I mentioned, okay, research each saving and investment tool. So in your bank, if you log into your online banking, if you do online banking, they should have a list of each tool that they have available for their clients. It could be from a credit union, a bank. Consider the basic. What is it? How does it work? Is there a risk involved? That would it cost you anything? Is there a monthly bank fee associated with that savings? Or if you want the savings, or where would you buy it? If you have a favorite bank you work with, I would recommend you contacting them so they could give you options on what would be suitable for you and your lifestyle. That's what I deal with RBC. And I'm gonna touch on the types of savings and investing tools again. Myself personally, I have the high interest savings account, the RRSP, as well as the tax-free savings account. The high interest savings account I kind of use as a short-term, like in my previous slide, I mentioned Christmas and my running. And then the tax-free savings account, I just put a little just for the sake of having it. The registered savings plan, luckily with us, our employee and employer NADF is generous enough to give us ours, so we just kind of put it aside into our registered savings plan. I'm going off topic again. So I'm going to touch base on what each one is. Okay, the high interest savings account, you can inquire about that with whoever bank you deal with. The GIC is a guaranteed investment certificate. The GICs can be locked for a longer term, probably a minimal up to 5 years. They are a safe way to save money because your initial principal investment is protected. And again, depending on the type of GIC you choose, you may have return on investment. Again, you can contact the bank, your local, or not your local bank, but your bank that you deal with. Stocks and bonds or certificates sold to raise money to start a new company or expand an existing business. Stocks and bonds are also called securities. People that buy stocks and bonds are called investors. I remember in school, the teacher gave us a little bit of money because it was I forget what it is, international business. So he gave us a little bit of money to invest in certain businesses. So I wasn't too good. I lost my money. The business that I invested in wasn't it wasn't doing good. So I'm like, okay, I would like to do it again though if I did a little bit of research. But as a student, you're kind of just focusing on you don't really get it until you actually do something, then you learn. Okay, I'm going off topic again, but that's what stocks and bonds is. Mutual funds. It's an investment fund that trades in diverse holdings and they're normally professionally managed. It's like professionals coming together and investing in diverse holdings and trading. Again, registered savings plan is a retirement savings. And would you like to retire? How much do you think you're going to want to have when you retire? Tax-free savings account. This program, I think, began in I would like to guess maybe 2009, maybe 2010-ish. It's for individuals who are 18 and over, and it's not a deductible for income tax purposes. Then the other one is registered disability savings fund. So any parents who have children that are eligible for the disability credit, they can start putting money aside for when just to have that comfort of knowing that your kids have this. And another one is the registered education savings plan. Let's say a savings account for parents who want to save for their child's education after high school. Again, I am not an expert in all these that I mentioned, but I'm just giving you a brief summary of what I know. It would be better for you to contact your whoever bank you deal with to get more information. You can also go on the website, just Google it, and I know there's applications for this or more inquiry. At least if you do a little bit of research beforehand, you're going to have an idea of when you talk to your bank of what kind of information you can ask, how they work, how you can apply. I was talking to my daughter about all this, and at least she's aware of what's out there, what she could do. And another one is Canada Learning Bond, and the eligibility is for low income families, children born after January 1st, 2004, resident of Ontario, a valid social insurance card. So these days, I think that child can apply for a social insurance as soon as they're born, because I remember I had filled in a statement of live birth for my niece, and in that application form, when I was registering her for her live birth, it had that tick box like social insurance. I'm like, oh, okay, she's gonna get her. Like it wasn't that way when my daughter was born, because she had to apply for hers when she was might have been 16. She's 22 now. So when I registered my niece, it had that option to get her. So she was able to receive her birth certificate as well as her social insurance number. And again, if my sister registers for this Canada Learning Bond, she can put that under her name, under her account, and she will just keep putting money. So how much would a child get? $2,000. $2,000 for an eligible includes. So the first year that you register for this, they'll get $500 for the first year of eligibility, and $100 each year up to until they turn 15. So I thought that I I didn't know about this until I was researching. Like, okay, look, that's pretty interesting. I think I'm gonna tell my sister about this. So if you have kids or know of family, you can just Google again the Canada Learning Bond, and there's an application for it. It's a step-by-step process. When I looked at it, it's fairly simple. And again, and there's another one that's called Canada Education Savings Grant. Again, I'm not too familiar with this, but it could be something that you can look into. So on top of the other one, a child can also get this. Again, it's for low income families, but it states on what could be eligible or what the eligible amount is. Again, I'm going to look further into this myself for family. My niece was born in March. I have yet to see her though. So the goal setting, going back to everything about financial literacy in general, you're kind of setting. I would like to use the SMART: be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and what's your timeline? Like, that's why I have my specific. Okay, my running, is it measurable? I can see how much money I'm going to start saving. Is it achievable? Yes, it is. I'm going to make sure it is. It realistic for me? Yes. I just have to cut my takeouts and my Tim Hortons runs. The timeline, I already know what my timeline is, so I know it might be safe to for me to travel in 2022, maybe 23, but at least I'll have that money ready to go when it's time for me to travel. So I hope what I presented so far was very informational, or if you learned something. Again, I would like to say I'm not an expert and I'm not an expert financial advisor. I would recommend you talking to the bank, your bank. So that's basically my presentation on savings. If you have any further questions or need maybe links to the website that on the information that I just provided, let me know. I'm going to do my best to provide it. Again, NADF has two offices, one on Fort William and another one in Timmins. That's a 1-800 number. You can either contact us through the website, so I can take questions if anybody has any questions. The next financial literacy workshop will be next week, next Wednesday and Thursday, so make sure you sign up for those. Charlton will be, I think he'll be doing credit, which is always an interesting topic for people, so make sure you sign up for his presentation. It's going to be next week. If you're not aware of what your credit report looks like, be sure to sign up. So I think that's it for me. And if you have any questions, you can call the 1-800 number, or you can go through our website and send us an email.